This is Glasgow Rangers Nation. I am Owen James, and this is all your latest update on the greatest team, the best team, Rangers. Although that does feel quite hollow still saying that after Sunday. Let's try and forget about it. Let's talk about some things else. We're going to talk a little bit about the fixture movement that's gone on. Obviously, a lot of Rangers fixtures have been moved due to A, TV, B, the Europa League. Amongst others, and also because of the great Scottish run as well. We've got news about Yanis Hadji turning down yet another move to his homeland. We've got news about another injury, Rabbi Matondo missing on this occasion. And a question, where is the CEO? We obviously, we were promised that we were weeks away from getting a CEO. I think that was about 4 weeks ago, and we're still yet to have one. What is going on with that? Why have we still got nobody? And what happened to the whole Jim Gillespie link that seems to have now died a death? Right, before we start with the news on Hadji and obviously the news about the CEO and Matondo's injury, let's have a look at the fixture movement that has gone on. Now, obviously, there is movement due to obviously the Europa League campaign. That is obviously one of the big ones now, with obviously that beginning with the first tie at Ibrox against Malmo, hopefully. So it's been announced that the game on Sunday, the first Sunday back, will be the 15th on the 15th and the 9th. That's the first game back after the international break. Will be a 12 o'clock kickoff live on Sky Sports. Also, a live watch along here on the channel. As Rangers travel to Tannadice, a tricky away tie to begin back. A right into the frying pan kind of tie. Dundee have made a good start to their return to the SPL, and Rangers will go there in need of a morale-boosting victory. Then the 26th, the game has been moved to 29th, sorry. My apologies, 29th. Rangers Hibs is also live on Sky Sports at 12 o'clock. Then on Sunday the 6th, a rather weird one that's caused a lot of anger and a lot of kind of just confusion. Rangers game against St Johnstone, which will be live on Premier Sports, has been moved to an 8 o'clock kickoff on Sunday evening, which is a rather bizarre time to have a football match on a Sunday evening. Especially if you consider people have work the next day, traveling on a Sunday, weird time to travel. Very, very weird indeed. Now, this is because obviously the game cannot take place on the Saturday because obviously Rangers are in action in the Europa League. It also can obviously take place at midday or at 3 or at 5 due to the Great Scottish Run. So therefore it's been moved to 8 o'clock. Now, there's even been some debate in certain quarters saying, could this game be moved again to McDiarmid Park? Could it be a fixture switch if both clubs object to playing at 8 o'clock on a Sunday night? I mean, it is a very weird time to have a game. I've seen 8 o'clock Saturday evenings. I've seen 8 o'clock Friday evenings. I've very rarely ever seen at 8 o'clock on a Sunday evening. I mean, that is a deeply bizarre time to have a football match and a very weird time for the game to take place, especially, given traveling concerns, Sunday night traveling concerns, work the next day. I mean, given the fact that some Rangers fans travel from great distances to watch the club, from south of the border, from Northern Ireland, it is a very weird time. I mean, especially if you finish the game, will finish around 9:45. You've then obviously got to get back to wherever you're coming from. So it's going to be some very late nights for some of the fans, especially obviously if they have work the next day. So this is a very, very bizarre one for the travelling fans that go up to Ibrox or across to Ibrox or down to Ibrox or whatever distance they come from. Then on Sunday 27th, our game has been moved to a Sunday, which is kickoff time to be confirmed. That is against St Mirren. Obviously, these moves have all taken place because of Europa League ties. On the 10th of November, we face Hearts at home. First chance to get one over on them after that pretty appalling draw on the first day of the season. Then on the 1st of December, St Johnstone Rangers again is on a Sunday. Then we've got another game on the 15th of December. Rangers Aberdeen kick off to be confirmed, subject to Premier Sports Cup final participation. So obviously, should Rangers reach the final, that game would be postponed. Sunday, the 26th of January, the Dundee United game again at Tannadice has been moved to a Sunday, and the final one is on the 2nd of February. Rangers Ross County at Ibrox has been moved to a Sunday. So all these movements, obviously, love it because of Europa League football. It is always again, it's another imperfect cycle, isn't it? A Thursday, Sunday, constantly. A catch up. Situation where obviously, Celtic playing Champions League football will probably get games on Saturdays now. They will get obviously further ahead of us when I try and claw that back, which can be a morale damaging thing to do, can't it? So, it's a bit of a pain in the arse, obviously being the Europa League because of this movement of games to Sunday. But it's interesting that number will be on Sky, which obviously will help those fans that cannot afford to travel. But like the one that obviously stands out as very weird is that St Johnstone one at 8 o'clock on Sunday, the 6th of October. Let me know what you think about that tie, guys, especially if you have to travel, because I know some of the people who watch this channel travel from Northern Ireland, travel from down south to go and watch the team. So let me know how that's going to affect your travel plans on that Sunday and what time you may well get home if you do decide to travel. Right, so look, let's move it along a little bit. Now, I think we can all categorically state that one of the things that we are desperately missing is a chief executive officer. Now, the last year's CEO was James Bisgrove. I don't really want to get into the debate over James Bisgrove and was he a good CEO or was he a bad CEO? Did he take his eye off the ball, etc., etc. Look, I think he had his good points. Obviously, the fan forums, which he agreed to, he engaged into, and he got involved with. He lived up to his promises. He was always ready to speak to the media. He was always ready with a quote. He was very much a easily engageable kind of guy. Whereas I think Rangers now, in terms of now he's left, we don't really have board members that are willing to do that. John Bennett looks very awkward whenever he appears on TV. And I think, whenever John Bennett speaks, it just seems to make the situation a whole lot worse rather than any better. So, look, we do need a new CEO. And there was talk, obviously, of this man, not the guy with grey hair. There, who is Jim Gillespie. Now, all the talk was that the guy who was involved with St Mirren, I think vice chairman, was apparently the man for Rangers. Now, I know at the time this was kind of discussed and talked about. There was a lot of concerns around Gillespie, given the fact that he had connections on the inside, he had connections to the board. People were worried that he could become a yes man to the board. A bit too pally-pally. There was some sort of doubts over that decision. Now, whether this has obviously affected his hiring, whether the board have actually, read and listened to all this sort of counter thing, which I highly doubt. I suppose that's one possibility, or whether it's just realistically they can't actually afford compensation or whatever to get him out of his present role with St Mirren now, which would be very embarrassing. But look, whatever the truth of the matter, whether, Gillespie is truly in the running or whether it's, someone else, Rangers badly need a chief executive officer. They badly need someone who can be that go-between between the board of Niels Kopp and Philippe Clement, who can be the kind of link. It can be the face of Rangers, the man who speaks to the media when it's needed, the guy who keeps everyone in the loop. Someone who is the mouthpiece of the club. We've seen, haven't we, that John Bennett is very uncomfortable with that, and Douglas Park, when he was the chairman, very rarely did it. Didn't like speaking to the media. Again, Bennett, like I said, very reticent to do it. I think we need someone who is accountable, someone who can come in and be that public face of the club. I think, for me, one of the things that kind of I think, may have contributed to James Bisgrove's departure is the whole situation around board interference with the role of the CEO. To what degree was James Bisgrove given independence to go and make decisions? Was he given independence to work with the football board, to work with the chief of recruitment, to get players in, and to get players out? Where was he in that negotiation stance? Was he involved or not before he left? Obviously, I think it was the 30th of May he left. Now, for me, the CEO needs to be left to get on with his job. He needs to be allowed to run the football club. And whoever it is needs to be a guy who understands, or a woman, who understands the game, who understands the demands of the fans, who understands the demands of the finances, the salaries, the contracts, the players, how players have changed over time. Has a view over transfer policy, over, a number of different things, in terms of the club moving forward. And I think one of the biggest things for me with the appointment of any CEO is that he has to be left alone to get on with his job. There hasn't got to be any interference there from the board. We have to give this person, this man, this lady, whoever it is going to be, their own head to go and make their own decisions, to allow themselves to run the club, in a positive manner, to run the club in a way that is right for a football club to be run. I think the board, yes, they may have been successful businessmen in their own right, but in terms of actually running a football club, which is very, very different indeed, to anything, anything else, I think, there is a need to have someone in there who is a football person into the CEO role, who understands the game, understands the transfers, understands expectations, understands standards. And they don't have to be a Rangers fan. I don't care who they support, as long as they get it, they understand it, and they help to move this club forward. And that, for me, is one of the key things that is missing at this moment in time. Obviously, given the fact we can't sign players because the transfer window is closed, why are we not using this time to try and get a CEO over the line? Someone to, to stop these appallingly bad decisions that are made by the board. The board, the Rangers board, are not fit for purpose. They genuinely are an absolute shambles. They couldn't run a bath. Whereas I think, we need someone at the top, a CEO, someone who can organise, someone who can run this side, who can be the liaison between the manager and the board, who be the liaison between the director of recruitment and the board, can have a tough, role to play in terms of, in terms of transfer policy, in terms of contracts, in terms of, expectations on the team, expectations on the manager, certainly. But whoever it is, like I said, needs to be left alone to get on with the job and allow them to run the club free from interference. Now, according to reports in Scotland and in England and in Romania, Yanis Hadji was offered another move back to his native Romania. But like I said, on the previous videos, Rapid Bucharest were allegedly interested. That move was dismissed out of hand by Yanis Hadji. A lot of, obviously, as well, after his dad put up a kind of negative point towards that. Now, it's been rumoured that it's not just Rapid that were interested in signing Hadji. The club knows FSCB, which is effectively Stoia Bucharest, as was, apparently were also interested in bringing Hadji back to Romania, and inquired about the player's availability and spoke to Hadji. Apparently, Hadji said no to the move, that he wasn't ready to go back to his native homeland. He didn't want to move back to Romania, so turned this move down. If you're wondering what about transfers, well, not all transfer windows are closed as of yet. Some transfer windows have still got a way to run yet. Turkey, for example, is still open. Please God, if someone comes in and signs Tav. But, the fact that Hadji has turned down yet another move, is kind of a real cause for question, a cause for debate. What is the plan? Does Yanis just intend sitting in the B team for the rest of the season, earning his money? Or what does he actually intend to do with this? And given the paucity of resources at the club, given the paucity of talent at the club, will a time come when actually Clement sits down and says, what, we've got to give this lad a chance again. We've got to let him play because we're struggling. And I don't care if it costs you $6,000 extra a week in his pay packet, or we have to got to pay Genk a little bit more money. If it's going to help the team, then surely we've got to do what's in the best interests of the team. Now, I'm not saying Hadji is the answer for a minute, but what I'm saying is, we realistically cannot have him, just sat in the B team, and we can't have a situation where, there is quite clearly an issue between him and Clement in terms of, Clement's willingness to pick him. But like I've said on previous videos, that could be down to the board saying, no, you can't pick him because we've got to pay him $6,000 extra. I don't know what the situation is there with that one. But look, it appears that Yanis is determined to stay, which is what he said in his statement, didn't he? Which goes against, obviously, what Clement has said, which is kind of a who do you believe kind of situation when it's one person's word against another. Right. What else do we know? So we know that Matondo has been ruled out for weeks after his injury against Celtic in the Old Firm. Apparently, he's been withdrawn from the Wales squad, and it is reported will miss a substantial number of weeks. Yet again, another injury curse hits the club and will leave us, if Cortez is not back fit, very light on the left-hand side of that attacking three. Well, guys, let me know what you think of the stories we've covered in this video today. Just a quick sketch over a few stories, guys. We'll look at some of them in a bit more depth, as the videos come out. Thank you for watching Glasgow Rangers Nation, guys. As always, on the way out, please smash that like, and remember, always, we are the people.